They brought with them several foreign guests to whom they had made some lofty promises. Among the audience at the fundraiser were influential political figures, including the former President of the United States, Donald Trump, and his wife, Melania Trump. Lee and Wang had promised their foreign guests visas, big returns on investment, and access to powerful politicians like Trump. The fundraiser was their opportunity to fulfill their promises. Who are Lee and Wang? What were their true intentions? Most importantly, did they make good on the rest of their promises? Lee and Wang were born and raised in China, but are both naturalized U.S. citizens living in Oyster Bay, New York. Xue Li is a Long Island businesswoman with many brilliant ideas. She once proposed a sprawling Chinese Disneyland in the Catskill Mountains, and she and her business associate, Lianbo Wang, whom she described as her corporate board member in election filings, were some of the biggest financial backers of Trump's political operation for 2017. When both of them were arrested and detained without bail, Wang, using an interpreter, basically said he didn't do any of the crimes he was accused of. But Wang is a naturalized U.S. citizen. In order to be eligible for naturalization to become a U.S. citizen, the applicant must, quote, be able to read, write, and speak basic English. So, why did Wang need an interpreter at all? In 2017, Lee attracted headlines in New York when she announced her bold plan to build a so-called China City of America in the foothills of the Catskills. The plan was a $6 billion plan, which included a school, villas, commercial offices, an exhibition hall, a retail mall, a Chinese kung fu and sports park, and an amusement park. The amusement park, dubbed Chinese Disneyland, is China-themed, and it's expected to attract 1.5 million visitors a year. The China City website is filled with promotional materials that hype Lee's company's civic engagement, from sponsorship of a farm-to-table experience that benefits local boys and girls clubs, to a local bagel festival. Lee's China City was supposed to attract thousands of wealthy Chinese investors to rural New York through the EB-5 visa program. The EB-5 program was designed by the Department of Homeland Security, U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, to provide a path to permanent U.S. residency for foreign investors and their close relatives, provided that they invest at least $500,000. They must also create at least 10 jobs in rural areas or communities with high unemployment. In urban areas with stronger economies, investment requirements are as high as $1 million. But not everyone was a fan of this investment to visa network. Several scandals involving the scheme have made many people lose confidence in its viability and integrity. In 2017, a Seattle developer pled guilty to defrauding hundreds of Asian investors seeking green cards. In May 2017, Jared Kushner's sister and other representatives of Kushner's real estate company pitched the program to Chinese nationals at a Beijing conference. This drew even more attention to the program, especially as Kushner works as a top White House advisor. One of the critics of this program is David North, a fellow at the Center for Immigration Studies. He criticized the EB-5 program in a 2013 paper where he called out Lee's original China City proposal, referring to it as a grandiose plan unlikely to succeed. I think it's immoral to sell green cards which lead to citizenship to anybody, North told USA Today. It attracts all sorts of bizarre and controversial characters. In June 2017, Lee and Wang donated $600,000 to Trump victory, the fundraising committee the president established with the Republican National Committee to attract high-dollar contributors. It wasn't their first time donating to politicians, even though this was her biggest donation. They had earlier contributed $55,000 to New York Governor Andrew Cuomo when he sought re-election in 2014. In 2017, they donated over $47,000 to the committee working to keep the House in Republican hands. They also donated $5,400 to its chairman, Steve Stivers. But where did they get the money from? Are they really the prominent national political figures they pose to be? In addition to backing Trump's political operation, she pursued the development of a higher education center on the property she controls in rural New York. Her plans weren't in isolation, though. According to USA Today, Lee's business plans could have intersected with the policies of the past Trump administration on issues ranging from the immigration of for-profit colleges. The interesting thing about Lee is that she was always happy to brag about her access to Trump and his key associates. She donated over $32,000 to the Republican National National Committee in October 2016 and issued 4 news releases in January touting her ties to Trump. In the releases, she talked about her attendance at Trump's inauguration, a black-tie inaugural ball, an invitation-only reception to honor White House Chief of Staff Reince Priebus, as well as a pre-inaugural dinner with select cabinet appointees to have an intimate policy discussion. Sometimes Lee and Wang acted as straw donors for foreign nationals to unlawfully contribute to campaigns supporting U.S. politicians and political committees. For each foreign national who wanted to rub shoulders with the president, Lee and Wang received $93,000. They collected this sum from 12 foreign nationals in total. From their earnings, they made $600,000 in political contributions in their own names, $270,500 from Lee and $329,500 from Wang to the committee that hosted the event. They also took photographs with Trump and Melania. But how did Lee and Wang manage to get their guests close to Trump and his wife? Meanwhile, by making that $600,000 donation to Trump's political campaign, Lee and Wang were breaking U.S. laws that prohibited foreign money from being used to contribute to U.S. federal political campaigns. For nearly a decade, Lee and Wang carried out their fraud scheme under the cover of a fictitious project to develop, build, and operate a private education institution in Sullivan County, New York. The project is dubbed the Thompson Education Center, or the TEC project. The project will be a higher education center built on 570 acres. It's expected to house 2,500 students and create 30,000 jobs, according to promotional materials. Lee and Wang put up a large billboard along a major roadway to promote the TEC, with smiling young graduates clasping diplomas. They also hired contractors to create architectural designs and perform minor construction to trick investors into believing the TEC project had a realistic probability of completion. Many political figures supported the TEC project. However, some local environmentalists didn't like the idea. One of them was Paula Medley, a member of the Basha Kill Area Association, which is an environmental organization that aims to protect the wetlands in the area. She believed the development would hurt a watershed that flows into the Delaware River. Some people doubted whether Lee, who had told the New York Post in 2013 that her background is in finance, had the development experience to pull off the project. They might have just as well saved their worry because the TEC project was just a facade. Lee and Wang convinced their victims, who were foreign nationals residing outside the U.S., to pour hundreds of thousands of dollars into this project. Their mode of operation was to falsely represent their progress on the TEC project and claim they had support from government officials. Some of the evidence that they were genuine were photographs of Lee, who was the TEC project's president, with prominent U.S. politicians. For example, pictures Lee took with Trump during the fundraiser she attended in June 2017. As of July 2022, Lee and Wang had lured 150 investors into parting with about $27 million as an investment in the TEC project. This amount includes about $16.5 million from EB5 investors who Lee and Wang promised a green card in return for their investment, and an additional $11 million from stock investors they assured that an IPO would take place. So, Lee and Wang persuaded their victims to invest in the TEC project by making several lofty promises to them, including falsely assuring them that their $500,000 investments would guarantee them lawful permanent residence in the U.S. through the EB5 investment visa program. But to date, no EB5 investor in the TEC project has received a temporary or permanent green card. The TEC project hasn't made an IPO, nor has it been listed on any stock exchange. After collecting all that money from investors, Lee, Wang, and other members of their scheme would launder the money by transferring it through bank accounts held in the names of different shell companies Lee had created. By March 2022, Lee, Wang, and their partners in crime had misappropriated and laundered at least $2 million in TEC project investor funds. With their money sitting comfortably in their accounts, Lee and Wang had no qualms about pursuing a luxury lifestyle. They bought designer clothes and jewelry, lived in luxury mansions, had several expensive vacations, and dined in the best restaurants. They spent at least $2.5 million in investor funds on various personal expenses with no clear business purpose. Neither Lee nor Wang reported this money as income to the Internal Revenue Service. They also used some of their fraudulently obtained funds to make political contributions to prominent politicians. How could Lee have all the connections she claimed to have, and nobody on the Republican National Committee knew about it. When RNC officials were asked about Lee's claims, they said she had no special access to administration officials at any donor events associated with the Trump Victory account. They also revealed Lee's donations to Trump Victory were so high because she bought event tickets for other attendees. However, her huge donations didn't buy her access to Trump and his circle. RNC spokeswoman Lindsay Jeanette said in an interview, "We're always grateful for contributions, both large and small." According to her, the donations the committee receives are a sign of Americans' overwhelming support of the GOP and Trump. Lee and Wang misrepresented their relationship with influential politicians. All the shiny promises they made to their victims were simply an avenue to fleece them. Lee and Wang have been charged with wire fraud conspiracy, money laundering conspiracy, and conspiracy to defraud the United States by obstructing the Federal Election Commission's administration and campaign finance. After their first appearance at the Brooklyn Federal Court, they were detained without the option of bail. According to the prosecutors, the defendants have significant flight risks because of, quote, "the seriousness of the charged offenses and the overwhelming evidence of their guilt." There's also the fact that they have long-standing ties with China, which doesn't have an extradition treaty with the U.S., so detaining them without the option of bail is a precautionary measure against them attempting to escape justice. Click to watch one of these next videos, and let us know in the comments section who you think will be the #1 country in the world in 20 years in terms of GDP.